I'm not happy about the mechanism. I'm not sure the longevity of it. And I came up with the idea, which I'm really pleased about, of having a circular cutout piece of the side panel and a porcelain knob on it, because porcelain is just brilliant. It's heavy and it's really nice to hold and it's lovely, and he's sort of from the Victorian era. And what you do to get her to start working is to turn it. Now you could turn it round and round and round as though you were having to coil a spring inside to give her sort of power, or you could just have to turn it up to the top and it would drop down. It doesn't matter, but it gives a lot of potential. I'm really happy with this. The way it would work, can I zoom in more? One asks. Yes, I can. There's the disc here, 2 bearings mounted with blocks of wood and things, and then the first way I thought of doing it would be to have an encoder. If you've got a modern, well, probably not that modern now, hi-fi or car radio, and the volume seems to go round and round forever and you feel slight clicks as you turn it, it's because it's working an encoder. An encoder tells a computer of some sort, or a processor of some sort, such as an Arduino, how many clicks it's been turned and in which direction. So that would be a really good way to do it. But encoders aren't meant to be driven round and round and round, and because they're switches, they have a limited life. Then I thought, well, why use an encoder when you can use a motor? As we've said before just now, if you turn a motor, it creates electricity. It acts like a generator. So put a motor on the end of this and then have a capacitor across the up to the motor just to smooth it, a large resistor, sort of 1 mega ohm or something or other, to empty the capacitor if you stop turning it. And then the output of that can be fed to an Arduino analog in with a couple of resistors and some diodes to protect the Arduino. That means if you turn it one way, the voltage on the analog in will rise and then slowly fall, and if you turn it the other way, it will go down and back again. That I'm really interested in trying. I think that could be brilliant. It doesn't matter how fast someone would turn this and whether they kept turning it. The other nice thing about it is, because it knows which direction, you could have Victoria, if you turn it anti-clockwise or clockwise, Victoria could then, without waking up fully, but she could speak, and her mouth had been said, please turn the handle clockwise or something, which would be a nice little touch. Very excited about that. I think that is really coming on well. Then, well, on to the very exciting enclosure. So thinking about something like this, because she needs to be covered in glass like I said, but also she needs a way of getting the sound out. If you've watched the making of Florence, the Is It Time for Tea machine, you'll know the problems I had trying to get enough volume. So I started with one, then tried an alternative, thought about the sound, thought how lovely it would be to have brass trumpets around somewhere, so I tried putting them in different places, but they really didn't look right, so I'm not happy about that. Gothic arch. It's a long time since I've made any Gothic furniture, but I used to love it. I love the look of it, the Victorian style, all the mouldings and the dark stained wood. It looks brilliant. I thought she could have a clock up here for her countdown timer for each question. There she is, and the buttons on the front. And I thought about that a little bit and thought, well, it would be lovely to have a Gothic top on it, an arch, but it would then be quite complicated, and I'm always, as you know, trying to keep things as simple as possible. Oh, and by the way, the idea is also that these 2 panels either side are either, well, some sort of screen or gauge array like Florence had. And I thought, well, how could you do that? Just passing on all my thoughts. You could have a roll of paper driven by a stepper motor, which would look amazing. It would all be pre-printed and you'd actually see it moving, which would give it a really nice look. Or one of the screens from something like a Kindle. I think there's an electrostatic display screen or something. They're fascinating things, but you can't do animations on them, and also between every time you rewrite to them, change what they show, you have to go through black. So if it's a white readout, you have to go through black, then back to white, or if it's a black readout, through white, back to... So that's not that good. Alternatively, once I've sorted out the size of all this, then perhaps in sort of size and shape I may have room for 2 LCD screens. We'll have to wait and see. It's exciting though. I love the Gothic arch idea. And then finally, 2 final ideas. I'm not good at drawing faces. I can draw boxes and circles and things, but faces are beyond me, so forgive me, but that is meant to be Victoria. I'm very happy with this. It means it's got a flat top, which means the construction is much simpler. There's the handle on the side to get her working. There are the 4 stopped. Also have a little printer, a thermo printer on the front, which would be great because say you was in a restaurant and you wanted to get recommendation for what to order from the menu, she could then print you out a little reminder, or if you won a quiz, she could print you out a ticket for a free drink or something. Don't know. And I was thinking about the inside of this, and I think the nicest thing is to have 2 of the shell lamps at the bottom and then just spray the inside slightly darker as it goes up rather than having a distinct inside. I think that would look lovely, a little bit of mystery. So that was the first one, with the arch stopping just below the top by accident, just because of how I drew it wrong. And second one, because I seem to remember I have made a piece of furniture, it might be the first steam pump machine for the school, a huge one that tells the weather forecast. It's massive, 2.4 meters tall. I think that's the design I ended up with that. I'll have to check when I get home, and that's an even worse drawing of her, but never mind. You get the idea. So that's the stage we're at the moment. It's lovely sketching like this, far better than working on a computer while you're sorting out ideas, because anything you draw on a computer is precise. One line is precise to hundredths of a millimeter, which really does do your head in a bit, because you can't change it. You've made a decision. Whereas drawing with biro, my personal favourite being a Bic medium, I think means that you can scribble around really quickly and just get a feel for ideas. Nothing's too precise, but you just see what looks right. Now what I'm going to do now is to get to my trusty laptop. Luckily I took a photograph of her before I left. Apologies for the moire effect, but this phone keeps insisting on focusing perfectly, with a ruler up against Victoria's head so I could get her scaled down, knowing the full size, so that I could drop her into 2D design. That way I know that she is absolutely full size, and it saves me, I haven't got any drawings of her because it was all done in 3D Designer. So now I can try and create the cabinet effect around her, which is very exciting. So that's the next step. Thank you so much for watching, if you still are. I hope the weather around you is much more clement than it is here. Hopefully it'll stop tomorrow so I can get out and stop doing this sort of thing. Thanks very much again for watching. Hope to speak to you soon.